48-hour art check. What are we, 107? That's the best way to start. We just talk to each other about a bunch of stuff that can't be spoken about on air. But we are going to do part 3 of crazy stories, death-defying, I almost died, some kind of something or other along those lines. They don't have to actually be life-threatening, but had it gone a different way, we're going to tell a few more of those stories.
Yeah.
Holy crap, I just pressed the wrong button. Now our mics are muted. Hold on. Let me see if we can unmute these. All right. Okay. Starting off with a bang. I pushed the wrong button, which set up a macro that takes 90 seconds to complete. It's still going. So some of that is going to happen as we talk. Dang it.
I love it. It makes it an adventure. So, yeah, so that's always fun. We are joined today with a special guest who's going to tell us their life or death story after we're done with the art check. So welcome, Scott.
How's it going, guys? It's been a while.
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't been that long, but a little while.
And Cory, it's been like forever since I last saw you.
I know. It's been at least 18 hours, I think, or something.
Boy, well, you're a sight for sore eyes. All right, so should we dive into the 48-hour art check?
Yes, let's do it. Scott, do you want to start?
Sure. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, I can't really show because I've been doing a lot of freelance work. I got a lot of stuff that just kind of all at once kind of hit me, which is sort of good, sort of bad because it doesn't give me a chance to work on my own personal stuff, but I can't really complain. So I put up a new YouTube video, continuing my 100 days, round 3, worked on my comic for 30 minutes a day. That's about all I've done because that's all I have the time to do. What else? Did some zombie sketches for my Kickstarter that's coming up. And I think that's about it. And just trying to get really, aside from art, just doing a lot of exercising and trying to change my diet and everything like that. So that's about it.
Cool. How about you, Josh?
So I have like nothing to show. What I will say is if you're following me on Instagram, in about 30 seconds or so, I'll be posting the panel that I penciled for the Dragon comic. So I did do rough pencils for the first panel of the Dragon comic, and then when we're done with the art check, I'm planning on kind of spending a good like 20 or 30 minutes to kind of sit down, focus, and thumbnail. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I got done. So it just was a long day, a little bit of overtime, and so I literally the first time I was able to get to the art board was like right when we started.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I was able to throw down a few more panels to almost finish this page last night. I haven't had a chance to do anything at all today. But I realized that the last panel on this page was like placeholder pencils when I got to it. I thought I had designed that character. I have no idea what that last panel is going to look like. So, and it's also a little bit of a spoiler for the story. So I think I'm going to leave it and have that be the last panel I ink. So technically that page is done for now, and I'm going to start the next one. But yeah, and then sticker stint starts soon. So I've got to shift gears and get more ideas down. I've been kind of gathering some ideas, but not as many as I need. So
nice. And when does it start officially?
February 14th, which I believe is Thursday.
Isn't it like Valentine's Day?
Yeah, I should be better at planning stuff. Yeah, it starts on Valentine's Day. That's a terrible day to start that. We're going to do it anyway. Because of
I think that's awesome.
For
that's
the
that's
love of art.
for Valentine's.
yeah, if you're doing the sticker stint with me, do something for your Valentine on the first day. I don't know. I'm terrible at dates. So, Scott, how about challenges? What was challenging?
So challenges again. Like just like Monday, I got two separate jobs for tour poster design, and also got my ongoing. I have one client that's sort of ongoing every month, and I get a certain amount of work. And I hadn't got that work yet, and it's a short month. Two, I am planning on a vacation this month, and for my birthday, I'm gonna go to Disneyland for 3 or 4 days.
Cool.
So I'm trying to get all this stuff done before then and everything. So that's my big challenge. So I've just been crazy working like all hours and just trying to get ahead of this stuff, which I'm making some progress. But again, it's just leaving zero time for my personal stuff. And also I'm launching this Kickstarter next month, and I haven't really had time to focus on that much, as far as, I need to do the graphics and start getting that all set up for that. So yeah, there's that, and other things like my website and my digital products that I'm working on, they're just totally taking a back seat. So, but again, when these projects come in, I want to jump on them. One, because they're all of these projects I got going on right now are really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I just gotta make time for it,
And Cory, you should add this to the Trello, but that actually reminds me of a really good topic that we should touch on for like a whole episode, either on here or on Artcasters, of feast and famine.
Yeah.
Because that's the name of the game with running your own business. It's like you're going to have these moments of just peak where you get too much to handle. And it's really, we've talked about momentum on here too, where it's like really important to kind of like when you're rolling up the hill, like when you start actually getting closer to the top and then you hit that peak and you're riding down, it's really important you gear it forward and just kind of ride it, because you might hit another hill. So it's like that with feast and famine, where it's like when you're freelance and you're loaded with clients, like that's the best position to be in.
Yeah.
You want to be in a position where ultimately you don't have enough time to get everything done, because that allows you to kind of like really refine the clients you're picking and stuff. So that's really good news, Scott. That means that bodes well, I think. So
How about you, Josh? Challenges?
Oh, challenges. For me, my biggest challenge lately is like work-life balance stuff. Like my job is very stressful sometimes, and just trying to maintain, after a long commute, trying to maintain output can be taxing. And but the neat thing is, I know tons of people who do it, and we do this art check. And Cory, you manage to knock out, and get your work done when you've like had a lance driven through your ear. I mean, you've had some pretty epic things happen just in the process of us doing this 48-hour art check. And I don't think any of us have, I mean, we've missed art checks, but I don't think we've really missed doing the art itself very often. And so that, to me, that's really encouraging, just to like see you guys like continually pushing out art, even when like you're overloaded or whatever. It's a nice thing because it maintains the momentum and stuff. So
yeah, for sure, I agree, and yeah, I like that a lot. My challenge is not as significant. I've been fighting this cold forever, and it keeps snowing here, and like the snow plows, if you're not careful, they plow you into your house. So like my wife and I had to spend a while like digging out of this berm, like this 3-foot high wall of snow in our driveway so we can get our car out, stuff like that. It's just like random crap that I'm not used to. And because I don't know, I've only been a homeowner in this climate for a few years, and so it's shocking to me how much work winter is every time. Like I grew up in California. I don't even know like what winterizing sprinklers was, you know. So like I blew my whole sprinkler system last year because all the pipes froze because I didn't know I had to pay somebody to come out and blow all of the water out of my sprinklers, you know, and just weird stuff that I'd never think about. Anyway, and I can't get my stupid snowblower to start. Anyway, long story short, yeah, basically I hate the snow and there's a lot of it, and I find it funny that people in the Northwest are calling it the snowpocalypse or the snowmageddon because it's like I can still see grass underneath the 16th of an inch of snow that they have that's shutting towns down and no one's driving. And it's like, yeah, you know, like I have at any given time for 4 months out of the year at least, just a solid sheet of ice that covers the entire city. So, and you just drive in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just kind of funny. But
it's so bad they like put ice skates on the bottom of your car.
No, they have snow tires. They have tires that have little metal studs built into the tires.
Yep.
There's like all kinds of weird stuff. Anyway,
that's unbelievable. It's funny too because it seems, I was joking before we started recording, it seems like the cold that I got ended up in a sinus infection. I'm still like kicking the last bits of it. I think that thing traveled from like California all the way up the Northwest and finally hit your area.
Yeah.
Because it is like a weird epidemic. Because it like took out like half the campuses out here, and then you were mentioning like a lot of the schools have closed and stuff because so many kids are calling out.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. Arizona's next, Scott.
Yeah, it's just gonna do a big loop. So
I don't get sick that often. Usually once a year, and it's for about maybe a week at the most.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I probably jinx myself now that I say that. But
no. You're good. You will remain the non-sick person.
All right.
All right. So should we get into plans?
Yeah, Scott, what are your plans for the next 48 hours?
Trying to get on top of this freelance stuff. I'm making a lot of headway, but I got to push forward because I really. I haven't really taken a vacation in a long time, so I'm looking forward to that. So I just kind of want to, other than the only thing I'm going to do on my vacation is probably my 30 minutes a day, which that's not the next 2 days, so I shouldn't talk about that. But again, the website and the digital products, that stuff's going to have to wait. But I got to fit in time for a newsletter. I need to get a newsletter out too. So newsletter, freelance work, and then hopefully some stuff for the Kickstarter.
Cool.
Sweet. Love it.
How about you, Josh?
So my plans are going to be to have thumbnails and hopefully I'll have the rough panel borders and lettering. Wait, no, I already have those done. So I should probably have the rough pencils for oh wait, no. Now I'm confusing the two. This is a problem of juggling two comics at once. I'm going to have the rough pencils and panel borders probably for the next quarterly stories page. And then for the hundreds comic, I really hope to have at least 2 more panels penciled. So that'll total 3. And that's including the one I did today. So 3 panels that you guys will be able to see of my dragon comic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty simple. I am going to start inking the next page. I'd like to maybe finish it by Wednesday, but we'll see how it goes. Because that would really mean I'd have to finish it by tomorrow. So probably I'll get more than halfway done by Wednesday. And then I need to also make some significant headway on day 0 of the sticker stint. So I've got to get some sketches down. I've got a bunch of ideas. I've got to get some thumbnails and stuff done. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. So we got Squatchy Ink in the chats.
Yes.
And let's jump in. So I'll do a better podcast intro than I did intro to the video. Are we calling this We Should Have Died? I know we named the last video War Stories because of these secret military bases that we were talking about.
Well, I think temporarily, yeah, like I almost died, part 3, or
Okay.
yeah, something like that.
Today's topic is I Almost Died, Part 3, where we're going to have Scott Serkland, Joshua Kemble, and myself, Cory Kerr, tell some more stories. We're doing this to kind of sharpen our storytelling skills. And it's really interesting to see like what relevant points you can keep in, what you can cut and have the story still work. And doing that audibly, is really important. That's why I think like story slams and like the moth and stuff like that are really important, and
Yeah.
people should try it. So if you ever just want to sharpen your storytelling skills, get together with a group of people, and sometimes artists we tend to be kind of isolationists. And I think to our detriment a lot of the time. I find myself spending too much time kind of in my studio. From a storytelling standpoint, the more I interact with other people and the more experiences I have, and the more I'm able to hear and tell stories, the better I am at it. So anyway, I'll start with today's story, and I think we're I think we're planning on having each other kind of work while we're telling these stories, because we're gonna try to get that stuff done. But so I'm just gonna tell a quick motorcycle story. It took me 45 minutes to tell this story on my YouTube channel a little while ago. So I'm going to do it in 5, cutting out
Yes.
all of the superfluous stuff. So I can never pronounce that word correctly. So in between semesters, we saved up all year and did a little vacation down to Disneyland. And flying out of the small, tiny little airport that we flew out of, the TSA is not as strict. And I realized on the airplane after I had made it through security that my driver's license had expired, and that I had made it through security with an expired driver's license. My thought was that LAX flying back was not going to be as lax. And so I had been saving for a motorcycle, and I hadn't owned a motorcycle for now, I don't know. It had been probably 7 or 8 years since I had a bike. And so we're staying at my cousin's house, and right as I'm about to take off, he said, "I found one," and it was the one I was looking for. And so we drove an hour. We bought the bike, and I drove 960 miles in about a day and a half. Which, if you know anything about motorcycles, it's not like a passive thing to drive 17 hours. Like it takes 17 hours in a car. It takes much longer in a bike because it's physically difficult. So that was challenging. I made it, about 900 miles with really no incident. And then once I got into Idaho, I started driving, and I hit a sleet hail storm. And so I didn't have any riding gear. I had no leathers. I was just wearing jeans. And so I'm being pelted in the shins with hail, and I'm wet and I'm cold, and I'm going like, 90 to 110 miles an hour, which just makes you colder. And so I stopped at this gas station, and I was like, I need to buy insulated clothing, and they didn't really have anything. And so I started buying like whatever I could think of. So I got like a pair of like sweats that I put on under my jeans, and I couldn't button up my jeans anymore. Just anything I could do to insulate. So I bought like 2 crappy looking hoodies, and I zipped those up. And then I saw this fleece blanket, and I was like, oh, perfect. So I bought this fleece blanket, and I kind of wrapped it around myself, and then I buttoned my jacket over the top of it. I was super warm after that. Bought these mechanics gloves. Anyway, so I made it through the storm, and then unbeknownst to me, my fleece blanket had started to unravel a little bit. It had started to unwrap. I had kind of wrapped it around my torso, like an X. And it started to unwrap, and then the end of the blanket got caught in the chain of my bike. I was going about 105 miles an hour at the time. And so the chain is spinning, and I don't know what happened, but I'm driving, and luckily I had both hands on the handlebars. It felt like somebody grabbed my shoulder and tried to rip me off the bike, and I went straight back, and then it kind of snapped, and I looked down, and it looked like I had just run over a Muppet or a Smurf or something. There was just like blue fuzz, this cloud of blue fuzz shot like 15 feet in every direction around me. And I was like, what on earth? I had no idea what was going on. And so I pulled over, and then I looked at the drive chain, and I saw like little bits of my blanket. And what had happened was my blanket had ripped in half. Had it not ripped in half, I would have just backflipped off the bike at 105 miles an hour and just skidded for miles until I came to a stop. So I was like, oh my gosh, right? So I started driving again. About 45 miles later, I'm driving. I am 22 miles from my house, and I'm driving. And you know those big, giant construction cones that are on freeways? Not like the little cones, but the big pylon orange cones. Sometimes they're filled with water. Luckily, these ones were empty. It's super windy where I live, and so I was going over this overpass. And I was boxed in, so there was a car behind me and a car in front of me, and then a semi-truck to my right, and I was in the fast lane. Somebody hit one of those. It flew in the air, and it landed directly in front of me. And I said, okay, I can weave this. So I threaded the needle. I saw like kind of the line that I needed to drive to be able to not hit this thing and die. Because, I mean, if you hit something on a motorcycle, you have two wheels, not four. So you don't spin. You just go down, right? And so I hit that little gap. And right as I was passing this thing, the wind picked it up and put it right underneath my front tire. And it tacoed right in half. Just the whole thing folded up. And one of the sides hit me in the ankle. And I was certain that I just shattered my leg. I thought I had broken my leg. I couldn't feel anything other than just shearing pain, because it hit me right in the ball of the ankle, where, just that really exposed part of your. And I was like, I can't shift. If I have a broken leg on the left side, I can't downshift to get off the freeway. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm lifting my leg up in case it was dangling, because I've seen like shins snap in half and like exposed bone and stuff, and I couldn't quite see. And I was still like 3 feet away from this semi truck and 20 feet away from these other two cars. And so I had to drive with my left leg in the air until there was a gap and I could kind of pull over. And so I got over and I was driving. And I tried to move my foot, and it hurt so bad. And I was certain that I had just shattered something, and I wasn't going to be able to downshift to get off the freeway. I didn't know how I would stop. Also, that's the side of the bike that you support the entire weight of the bike on that leg when you park it, and that's how you put the kickstand down, is with that leg. And so all of these things are going through my mind. I'm like, I'm not going to do. And then luckily, what had happened was, it was just like a stinger, just where you get smacked really hard and it just like shocks your nervous system into just the nerves just light on fire, but it didn't actually do any damage. And so luckily I regained the use of my leg after a minute or two, and I was able to make it. But I mean within a 60-mile period, I almost died twice. I mean, I don't know how I didn't go down. I don't know how. I don't know where that pylon went after I hit it. I don't know if it shot out the side or if I hit it with my back wheel. I have no idea. But anyway, so that was my maiden voyage of my current bike. I broke it in and christened it good.
Wow.
Yikes.
That definitely reinforces my desire to not drive a motorcycle.
Oh, man, you're missing out though.
Oh man, wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, I kind of want to hear Scott's.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to go about this. Now, I'm only on this show like not as often as you guys, so I've got a few small stories maybe. I don't know. I don't have anything as like traumatic kind of as Cory's story there. I mean,
meaning you're not as stupid as I am. You're not as stupid as I am.
No, I'm pretty stupid. I did a lot of stupid stuff. So I mean, well first I'll start off by I don't know what it was, sort of an affinity for like climbing on roofs and jumping off roofs, and I think you have mentioned that too. But I would do stupid stuff like me and some friends, I think another friend, we would go to like to the schools in either the weekends or maybe summertime or whatever, and we boost our bicycles up on the roof of the school, and then climb up and then start just riding our bikes and jumping our bikes off the roof. I don't know how I didn't get busted or no one noticed, or because people work at the schools on the weekends and stuff, but we did that. And I mean, there was this one, my friend was shooting this video for his marketing class in high school, and he's like, oh, okay, so the idea is that you're up there, you're like a air conditioning guy working on on this roof, and then he's made this fake cola or something that he was advertising for his marketing class, and he's like, okay, so you drink it and you're like it's like Jolt Cola or some crazy thing, and then you just have this fit, and then we want you to kind of just do a roll off the roof. And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. I did that. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I've never broken a bone other than my nose, which I guess isn't technically a bone, but I've never broken any bones, and I don't know how I got away with this. But I mean, I would do stuff like that. I mean, just jumping off roofs into swimming pools and just about everything, to the point where it's weird now because like I've got a 2-story house now, and every Christmas, most people that have the same model house as me, they'll kind of do the bottom story. But me, I get up and it's pretty high, I get up there and you have to get on the very top of the roof and hang down to hang these lights off. And I'm the only one with this model house that actually gets up there and does that. I assume if you had a large ladder, you could do that, but I just have a regular ladder, which I, kind of get up on my back patio, and then I pull myself on the roof, and then I pull myself on the second level. But every year, it's like now I'm like, because I'm older now, and now it's every year it's like, oh, I don't know, it's scarier and scarier every year. So it's not like when I was a kid where I would just be like, and that's a good thing, because I would probably have fallen off one of these times, because I'm like super cautious now and everything, whereas before I would just do all the stupid stuff. So I've never actually almost, got that close to killing myself, but I've come close to killing my brother like 2 or 3 times. So I don't know if this fits the thing or not, but they're kind of funny stories, so I'll bring them up. But my brother, for whatever reason, like I said, I've never broken any bones or anything like that, but my brother, he would always, for whatever, he always got, whenever we were doing something stupid, and most of this was just me teasing him, or my friend and I teasing him, or experimenting and trying different things on him, and he would always he'd always either get in trouble or almost or break arms or whatever. So there's 3 stories. There's the R2-D2 story, there's the Donkey Kong story, and then there's the bow and arrow story. So the bow and arrow story, my friend, who was just a very, very bad influence, and I don't really talk to him anymore because I think he just got worse as time went on. But he was just the troublemaker, big time troublemaker, and I was always around him, so I tend to get in trouble too. But my dad, who was at the time, he was into hunting with like bow and arrows and stuff like that. So my friend had made this bow. He just kind of made this bow out of, a piece of wood and some string and stuff. But he took my dad's arrows. Now they didn't have the tips on them, but they were like, I don't know what they are, aluminum or whatever, but they're no tip on them, but they're still like metal arrows. Yeah. And he strung it up. He's like, oh, put this, he wanted me to do this William Tell thing, and I don't know what I was thinking. So, because I didn't think he was actually going to shoot it or whatever. So I put the apple on top of my head, and then my brother's like, no, don't shoot. And he shot it and shot my brother seriously right between the eyes. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
a fraction of an inch, either any other way, he would have lost an eye. I mean, he still has, it looked for, I mean, it's a little harder to see now, but it looks like you took back of a ballpoint pen and just pressed on it.
Oh my gosh.
And he had that scar for like the longest time, and you could probably still see it, I think. So there was that. So that was one thing. So the R2D2 story. So my dad was in the swimming pool business, and they had these, I don't know, pool cleaners or something like that, but they looked like R2D2. They were these heavy metal, dome things. So like, I told my brother, I said, Todd, we're gonna make you an R2D2. He's like, all right. And and this, a lot of these were innocent, not intending to hurt him or anything. But so I took this big giant metal dome and I just, put it over his head, and he's like, ow. And so what I didn't realize is that there was a gauge that kind of screws into the top that was missing, but that place for the screw was still in there. So there's this, almost like this, not a spike, but like a little metal, like kind of I don't know, like a bit or something. I don't know. And we pulled it off his head, and his hair was just like totally red with blood. And
my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? And then we noticed that the whole thing, we didn't see that there. So there was that. And then so the Donkey Kong story. So growing up, we had this 2-story house, and we had this staircase. It was pretty much just a flat staircase. It just ran straight up. It didn't curve or anything like that. Uh-huh. So what we would do is we would play Donkey Kong, and we'd get these duffel bags, and the object was just to get up the stairs while people at the top of the stairs were throwing these duffel bags and stuff down at you, and things stuffed in the duffel bags and everything. We just, bam, bam. And, so, it was my brother's turn to do that. So he's going up, and we just nailed him, and he went flying down the stairs and everything. He's like, ah. And so we go there, and, he's like, my arm hurts. So I'm like, oh man, I think he might have broke his arm. So I didn't know. We were home, kind of home alone. My parents were at work or whatever. And, apparently while we're doing this, we also made a huge mess. But so I forgot who else was there, but me and probably a friend or something, or, maybe it was just me. And I had kind of did this makeshift sling on my brother, and he was just kind of just waiting there. We were waiting for my parents to come home. And my dad got home, and he was not happy with the fact that the shape that the house was in. So that was one thing. And he's just like yelling, and then he sees my brother, and he's got this sling on his arm. And he goes, I'll leave out all the expletives, but what are you guys doing? He goes, you're supposed to clean this room and all this. And I forgot what the sling was made out of. It was probably something that was his clothing or something. I don't know. But he's like, get this thing off. And he just like rips this thing right off of his arm. And come to find out, yeah, he did break his arm. And I don't think my dad helped any with it.
Oh no.
So yeah. So those are the 3 times that either tried to kill my brother or he kind of faced near death. So yeah, those are my stories. So.
Oh man, those are good.
Yeah,
those are really good. I think I'm gonna switch up. I had a story I wanted to tell, but I'll save that for another one if we ever do another. I think I'll continue my kind of chronological ones and kind of go up to like early 20s. So I'm like at this point in my life where I had gone from high school. I was like a straight A student. I was in honors classes and AP classes and stuff. And like, I would goof off and like, as you guys know, if you listen to the last episode, like, I did a little bit of drinking and bad things, but at the same time, I was a pretty good kid, like academically. And so I just did kind of the typical academic thing. You like graduate from high school. I had kind of gotten fed up with like living at home. So I like quit. Like I left my family's house, and like, I got a job at an AM/PM mini mart, which I felt really good about because I'm like, I can pay rent in like an apartment if I stay with my friend, you know? Like, so I moved in with my friends, moved in the apartment, and went to Antelope Valley College, which was like a junior college in the area, because there's no way, like, I got accepted in a couple art schools, but just the budget, like, I didn't have the money, you know? So I was like, I could get like a full ride and still not have the money to go to that school, you know, because it would cover like a year, you know? Um, and so anyhow, so I'm going to the college, I'm playing in bands, and then I get this brilliant notion, you know what I'm going to do instead of like pursuing my art degree? I'm going to drop out of college and just play music with a band and work at AM/PM because I'm working graveyards and I'm making enough money to like buy instruments and playing gigs all the time. This was like my life at the time. It's an important setup. um, so so my mindset at the time is just like gonna be like a rock star in a band. I'm working these graveyard shifts, which are like murdering like my mentality, because it's like, if you guys have ever worked graveyard shifts, it's like you start at like 11 and you get off at like 7, you know, in the morning. And so by the time you're off work and you're ready to like hang out with friends, like no one's awake or everyone's like going to their jobs. But anyhow, so I'm doing that. I hate the AM/PM I work at. Like it had one of the worst bosses I've ever had in my life. And that'll be important later too. But anyhow, so there's this one graveyard shift where like my primary duties were like, you like ring people up. At the time, this was like pre 9/11, so you were the only person in the store. And so people would come in and do beer runs like all the time. So they just come in, grab beer, and run out, you know? And it like, when people do that, it like causes this just like, oh, like you want to defend the store kind of reactions, you know? But you're like trained by the franchise or whatever, like not to pursue people because it can, like, it's not worth getting shot over basically because it's insured, you know? And anyhow, so I'm working a graveyard shift really late one night, and this guy shows up, and weird people would come by. Like you'd have like guys come in and they'd have like a swastika like tattooed on their chest, and or like meth freaks come in and like disappear in the bathroom that was outside in the corner, and then like come around and like come back and suddenly one of them had money. Like just really shady, weird stuff happened there all the time. And there's no like glass windows like at this place. So anyhow, there's this one night where I'm working. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. And this guy comes in and he's like, yeah, it's the most, he's pretty much saying like, oh, it's the most annoying thing. Like my wife, you know, wants me to get like Cheerios. Do you guys have Cheerios? And I'm like, yeah, I think we have like Cheerios, you know, they're overpriced, but you know, we're a mini mart. So the guy like grabs the Cheerios, he brings them to the counter, rings them up. I ring him up. The second the register opens, he pulls a 9mm out from like under his shirt and points it like directly at my head. And at that moment, it's like, we've described this before, but it's like when you have these weird experiences, it's like things go into slow motion because it's like this weird survival response kind of thing. And so at that moment, it's like it flashed through my head that like if this goes down the wrong way, I'm going to be a guy who died as like kind of a loser working at an AM/PM who like could barely make rent and like had not started my art career, even though I wanted to do comics, and was kind of like failing in the band. Like we were recording and stuff, but we weren't like getting courted by like major record labels or anything. And, so I was like, oh, well, that's going to suck, you know? And so the guys basically just like give me the cash and like, and so I give them all the cash. And the goal when you're getting robbed at gunpoint is to supposedly get the person out of the store as quick as possible. So you just kind of do whatever you can. You ask for what's in the safe. I literally can't open the safe because I'm just doing these drops every like 20 minutes. You like take all the 20s in the register and put them in this little slip thing that you pull out and then you push in and it's like kept in a safe. So I literally didn't have the money. I kind of explained that to the guy, and I'm not panicking. That's the weird thing about this whole process. It's just very surreal the whole time. And I'm kind of trying to be like the ultimate, kind of like the ultimate customer service for the guy, just to keep him happy and like get him out of here. And so finally he's like, and give me like 4 cartons of cigarettes. And I'm like, what kind of cigarettes would you like? And he's like, Camels or whatever. So I grab like 4 of the cartons of Camels and just hand them to him. And he puts the gun down slightly, which causes me relief. And then he pulls his hood over his head and runs out. And the second he does that, there's like this little button at the bottom of the register, that we had to hit a lot, even if like somebody did a beer run, mainly because they like in those cases, it's so they can get a police report so they can file for the insurance claim. But anyhow, so I hit that because I'm like, and of course I have the keys to the place, which we aren't allowed to lock except in the time where you'd like if you had to clean outside, you could lock, but you couldn't be out of the store for 15 minutes. That was like policy. So anyhow, so I run out, I run to the door, lock it. And then the cops call because they call right after you hit the button. And I tell them, hey, I just got robbed at gunpoint. I'm at this AM PM and then I just sit and wait. And it's about 5 minutes. It's like the quickest I've ever seen cops get there. And a patrol car pulls up. They take the description, stuff like that. 5 minutes later, my manager shows up looking like she just woke up and tries to get me to stock the refrigerator. And at that point, I was like, I just got robbed at gunpoint. So I'll tell you what, I'm going home. So I went home, and it's like at that point, that's when it all kind of hit, like the reality of it. So like I had like my body was just totally calm and collected through the whole thing. And then the second I kind of like stepped into my apartment, like my hand just started shaking. And literally it was like for a day and a half after that, like I couldn't stop like shaking. But I do attribute that to the main reason, like it was like maybe a week later that I re-enrolled at the junior college so that I could get the hell out of that city and get my degree and get a career that I could be proud of and finally start making the things that I wanted to make. Because if there's anything that makes you have a reality check, it's like literally having a gun pointed at your head because you're like, oh, well, okay, so what was that worth? So it was a really good reality check for me. But that was one of my stories. So yeah, so there we go.
That's crazy, man. That reminded me of another story. So I'll tell this one kind of quickly, but there is some background. So I was living in Scotland, and I was not living well in Scotland as far as like financially. I wasn't in Edinburgh, right? I was in like the kind of offshoot suburbs of Glasgow, which is like, it's not as rough as like Ireland is. Like I knew a bunch of dudes who lived in Ireland, and like you get beat up a lot in Ireland, but like in Glasgow it's still pretty rough. And so like I was like attacked like at least weekly. Like you just, I don't know, because I'm like not a big guy. And so anyway, so there was like rules, if like somebody asked you what time it was, you would raise your hand up and you would check your watch like so that you could maintain eye contact with them, because what they were really trying to do was get you to like look down so that you like weren't paying attention and they could like get a good headbutt in or something like that. So anyway, there's two things that are kind of terrifying about Glasgow. One is called the Glasgow Kiss, and the Glasgow Kiss is where the thugs try to take the bony part of their forehead and headbutt you right underneath the eyebrow on your nose, so it separates the cartilage of your nose from your skull, basically. It's called the Glasgow Kiss, and it instantly breaks your nose, and it makes you bleed kind of in several places, so it kind of disorients you. It's really, really painful from what I hear. The other one is worse, the Glasgow Smile. Now, the Glasgow Smile is they take straight razors, like old school straight razors, and they cut half an inch on either side of your mouth, and then they kick you, and once your ribs start breaking, it's really hard not to scream, and when you scream, it just like opens your face up, kind of like Heath Ledger's Joker, right? He had a Glasgow smile, and so so I was aware of both of these things because, you know, we're kind of constantly aware, and like the crew that we were with, we always made sure that we were with someone else and everything. But anyway, you'd still get rocks thrown at you and stuff like that, which in an environment where like all of the sports involve like kicking things, like,
Yeah.
you know, people throwing rocks at you is like, you're grateful that they don't think to like put something on the ground and kick it at you, because they're never going to hit you. And if you do get hit, it's like, you know, not a big deal. But they drink this really sugary wine called Buckfast, super cheap, and then they would break the bottles on the curbs, and then they'd have like a makeshift knife, you know, that they could just like shove and twist. And so I knew tons of guys that got, you know, like messed up. And if you're smart, you couldn't avoid confrontation, but you could avoid like death. That's where it was. So I was like, a buddy of mine was getting chased through this park by a bunch of like thugs who were like hopped up on like PCP, and so like the dude he was with outran him, and he tripped, and he had a backpack on, and they were kicking him in the backpack. This guy's an idiot, and so he starts making fun of them. And he says, you morons, that doesn't even hurt. You're kicking me in the backpack. And so one of them calmly walks around to the front and kicks him right in the face and just laid his face open. And anyway, a lot of the time, once there's blood, that's kind of over, but sometimes it isn't the case. For him, luckily, that was it. They got what they wanted out of it. And anyway, so we had this appointment in like, I don't think I really quite understood. I was like 20, and I don't think I really quite understood the danger because, you know, we went to this appointment, and there was some Scottish people that were like, "Hey, don't go to that village, like, ever." And I'm like, "No, it's fine. Like, we need to go meet with these people anyway." And he's like, "No, you don't. No one in that village is worth meeting with." And I'm like, "Well, you know, that's kind of mean." He's like, "No, seriously, like, you're taking your life in your hands." And I'm thinking like, it's kind of exaggerating it. And he's like, okay, just so you know, you have to get out of there before the sun goes down. Because
Sorry, I'm just thinking of like somebody visiting LA who's like, I'm just gonna take a stroll through like Watts or Compton.
Right.
You know, like just like,
yeah.
Like
and more than that, like, you know, go knock on somebody's door and like talk to them for a while, and then you know, take public transport in and out of Watts or Compton. So yeah, it was comparable, except because this particular village was owned by the government, because it was considered what they call council flats, like welfare, generational welfare, where like, and you have kind of packs of boys that run around, and they operate exactly like a pack of wild dogs. They're not exactly sure. I mean, they're kind of, they know who their mom is. None of them know their dad. You know, and there's no glass in the entire village, because any glass windows just get broken by the kids. And any of the kids, nobody bothers to shut their door, is any of the kids, whenever they want anything, they walk into whatever house they're closest to and just take it. And like, all the adults are just like, well, that's just how it is. There's no point in trying to fight this pack of like, you know, 12 to 15-year-old like pre-thugs, you know? And so it's a pretty crazy environment. And buses don't run there after night, because the kids will wait in the bushes, and when the bus comes, they'll lob a brick right in front of the bus, so the bus drives into it and just breaks the front window of the bus and stuff like that, right? And so so we're there, and like, they're like, "Hey, just so you know, the cops don't answer calls to Craig Nuke. They don't go there. Like, they kind of just let it self-regulate." And so anyway, also, fire insurance on your car is mandatory, because a favorite pastime of a lot of these kids is to find a vehicle and then rock it back and forth until it tips up on its side, and then you stab the gas tank with a screwdriver and light it on fire. And you have like a little bonfire. And I'm not exaggerating. It was very common to just walk by flaming cars. It was like a weird, beautiful, amazing place with incredible architecture and like picturesque scenery, and then also like post-apocalyptic, like Mad Max style, like flaming cars with roaming packs of feral humans. And it was just like, it's a weird thing. So anyway, so we were there, and our appointment was going really well, and it went super long. And it was, you're like in the North Sea, it's pretty high. And so the days are shorter, and I wasn't used to it. And so I timed it poorly, and I looked out the window, and it was pitch black. And I was like, oh, okay. Cause we are 30 miles from our flat, and we have no way, like we can walk 30 miles or try to hitchhike, which I wasn't super excited about, or try to catch a bus, which we were told it doesn't matter what the schedule says. Buses will not go there after the sun goes down. So we're waiting at this bus stop just going, dude, what are we going to do? Like, so I don't know, like how fast can you walk? And like, I time myself, I can walk like 11 miles an hour, and so like, okay, so it's like, worst case scenario, 3 or 4 hours walk, that's pretty terrible. But once we get out of the village, we're fine. We're not going to get like mugged because it's just the middle of the countryside by then. Out of the shrubs and out of the shadows, we are surrounded by 15 to 20 of these neighborhood kids. And some of them, they're already drunk. Some of them are curious. They hear like an American accent and they just want to talk to us because we sound like people on TV, and that's kind of interesting. Some of them are more of the angry kind of drunk. And a few of them, I think I counted at least 2 that I saw, were thumbing, like opening and closing those old straight razors. And I was thinking, dude, I do not want to have a Glasgow smile. That is definitely what I don't want. And so we kind of put our backpacks down, and we went back to back, and we started spinning so that we could kind of have, because you can't quite get a 180-degree view, but if you spin, you can see each person frequently, right? And so you just kind of maintain eye contact so that they know that you're whatever. And so we had kind of trained a little bit for crowd fighting because of these situations. And so anyway, they start getting closer and closer, and there is an organization called the CID, which is, from what I can understand, kind of local versions of the FBI that are kind of involved in like DEA stuff, like drug enforcement stuff, and like gang stuff and crimes and whatever. And we kind of dressed like CID a little bit. And so they're like, are you guys CID? And I'm like, no, man, we're not. And it's like, they wouldn't say if they were, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to be CID at the time or not. It's like, if I am CID, are they just going to like kill me so that just to send a warning, or like, is that going to be a deterrent? Like, I don't know. And so, anyway, so they're having this conversation. We're spinning back to back. They're like getting closer and closer. One of the kids, starts tapping his empty Buckfast bottle on the curb and breaks it in half. And I'm like, okay, so we've got a Buckfast knife, we've got 3 straight razors, and we're outnumbered at least like 8 to 1. And so I'm like, okay, this is there's no way that this goes well. So for some reason I just reached in my pocket and I flipped my bus pass at them, and it had like the seal of like the bus company. It was like gold foil, and then it had like my picture. And then one of the kids goes, I told you they were CID. They were CID. And right then, for no reason at all, and still to this day, I don't know how or why this person was in this village, a Jaguar pulls up with tinted blacked out windows. Like a Jag. Just pulls up and stops. Right, like seconds after I flipped my bus pass at him. And they just scattered, disappeared into the shadows. They were gone as easily as they came. The Jag pulls away. I don't know what the Jag was doing. And then the bus shows up like an hour after sundown. and so we got on the bus and went home. And I didn't die that day. I was really excited to not have a Glasgow kiss or a Glasgow smile.
Quick thinking, man.
So yeah, that's I've got a bunch of Scottish stories, but that's a good one. I took way too long telling that story, but yeah.
No, I think it was a good one. Holy moly. Cool. So I feel like we've touched on three and four, actually four pretty awesome near death stories. You got another one, Scott, or you all
probably, but I don't have it like queued up. So yeah, I think I gave like a bunch of smaller stories. So
this isn't like a complete story, but I'll just tell you my first day in Scotland. I was in a place called Pollock, which was in between, and like in Scotland, it's different than in other places where I've lived. Like soccer is a religion, and you have religious teams. So you have the Celtic, or the Celtic, which is that is the Irish Catholic team, and then you have the Rangers, which is the Protestant team. And when they played each other, they called it the grudge match. People died, like in the streets. Like there would be riots, no matter who won or what happened. And so that was the first night that I showed up, and my apartment was directly in between both of these football pitches. And so you had the Celtic and the Rangers on either side of my apartment. And so my apartment complex was like the epicenter of this. And I know that the way memory works that I'm exaggerating this, but it was the weirdest scene I've ever seen. So I was just in this cab, slowly driving through the city. I couldn't understand anything that anybody was saying because they were all speaking English, but with like a thick Scottish brogue, and everyone was drunk. And there are just crowds of people trying to knock buses over and people running through this. And I still remember like women and children and strollers and stuff, like as if nothing's happening. And then other people like throwing like Molotov cocktails. And then there's this guy who has his kilt pulled up, tucked underneath his armpits, and just running down the street pissing. Just running down the street, just urinating whichever way he blew. And I was like, what have I done? Why did I decide to live here? It was an interesting couple of years. So yeah,
that's awesome.
There's no point to that story, but
pretty
just
fascinating
texture.
Like Long Beach stories, but I don't want to carry it too long. So we'll have to kind of continue this one a little later, I think. So all right. Anybody in the chat have any questions? I know Mike and Squatchy and Victor showed up. So I think Victor said he's really excited to start Sticker Stint on Thursday, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, thanks to everybody who like joined us in the chats, and thanks Scott for joining us.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting, man. It's fun to hear your stories, and especially I'm actually really glad you told the almost killing your brother ones, because those are hilarious. Yeah, so like more to come. We might touch base on this next 48-hour art check, or we might hit like a little art topic and then kind of use this as filler every once in a while. Yeah. Yeah, so should we tell everybody where to find everything and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. So if you want to find Scott Serkland's stuff and get free comic things to make your awesome comic project that you should be doing if you're not, go to circworks.com. There's all kinds of things there to see and to buy, and you can also get that free comic book starter kit by signing up for his newsletter. If you want to check out Joshua Kemble's stuff, then you can see his YouTube channel, which I believe we're on tonight, and so make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell. You can also go to quarterlystories.com, which will have his autobio comic that he is several pages from finishing volume 1 of, and is really good. So you got to check that out. And if you have a moment, go to tapas.io, which is also a mobile app, and you can subscribe there, which helps him out. If you want to see my stuff, you can go to corykerr.com. We're starting the sticker stint on Valentine's Day for some reason. And so if you want to join in with us, you can go to corykerr.com/sticker stint. That's CORYKERR.com/sticker, STINT. And we'll see you guys in a couple days. We are out.